Hi, good afternoon and good morning, everyone. Okay, thank you for joining us for today's FineBI webinar on the interactivity BI features. So my name is Constance, with over 5 years of experience in the field of BI. I've had the privilege of working with a wide range of companies to unlock the power of the data. And it's my honor to be the host of today's session. And the goal today is to equip you with the knowledge and skills to harness the interactivity features in your daily data analytics work. But enough about me. This webinar is all for you and your learning journey. So I highly encourage you to ask questions, engage with the contents, and practice on your own after the class, so you can make the most of the learning resources. And remember that if you haven't downloaded FineBI, you can go to our website, download, install, and open it, and try yourself. So you can this can help you to better understand the knowledge we cover today. And now let's take a look at what we will cover during the following 1.5 hours. So here is a background. So my friend, Mr. White, he is now working in a IT department of a chain convenience store company. And he's now striving for a promotion opportunity. And so he plans to master the data analysis skills using FineBI so as to provide valuable suggestions for the executives to optimize the supply chain and the campaigns in each store. So after a month of study of FineBI, so my friend Mr. White now can create an interactive dashboard. So this dashboard is created using the daily transaction data and some dimensional tables. Okay, so now from this dashboard, we can have some interesting findings. So the first is that for this region, the Inner Mongolia region, the total sales is moderate. So you can see the total sales is moderate, but the region have a rather high profit rate. So why is this? And also, if we observe the data according to the product level, we somewhat figure out that in this chart, the Dove chocolate, although it has some sales values, but the profit rate is a negative value. So why this happens? What's the trigger, and what should we do for the next steps? So currently, with the existing dashboard, we cannot answer the questions. So today, I will introduce you with the 6 topics, and all of these will not only provide a better look of the dashboard, but also helps you to introduce more interactivity to your analytical dashboards. Now let's move to the first topic. It's about linkage. So let's go back to our dashboard, and let me give you a simple introduction of all the charts. So now we have 3 charts. The first one is the sales and profit by the province level. And the second shows the proportion of each product category. And the last one, it shows the sales and profit at the product level. And all of the 3 charts are made from the same data set. So for the first, the provincial chart, I use the province in the horizontal bar and then drag the sales and profit rate to the vertical bar. And for the category chart, I use the category of the product here and also the sales data. So for the product chart, I use the product name for the horizontal dimension. So because the three charts are created by the same data set, so when I'm now clicking on a piece of each component, the others will react accordingly. And this is what we call linkage. And this function is used to identify the connection between the data. And because all of these are created from the same data set, so no need of additional settings. They can link with each other by default. But from time to time, if you want to force the charts to be static, you can also remove the default linkage. So let's go back to the edit panel. And so here, click more, and you can uncheck this option. And in this way, if you click all the charts, no one will react. Okay, so but for today's example, I will maintain the default interaction. Okay, so now let's make some small exercise. So imagine that when a person is looking at this dashboard and make some analysis, he or she will follow a sequence. So for example, the manager will pick one of the province, see, and then check the proportion of category within this province. And then maybe he will focus on maybe the snack category and see what are the products that contribute the most. So in this way, if you observe our dashboard carefully, you will figure out that when I'm checking a province and then check another category, the initial province chart will also be changed. And this is what we don't want, because when we analyze the data, we sometimes want to fix the selection on the first chart and only have some changes on the following charts. So how can we achieve this? So in our first practice, we will to allow the pie chart only control the product chart and do not make any changes to the provincial chart. So how can we achieve this? So now let me clear all the linkages. So when my mouse click on this pie chart and click this drop down, we can choose to manually set up the linkage. And now for this chart, I will go to the upper right corner and check this icon. So after click it, this chart will be grayed out, which means the pie chart will not create any linkage to this chart. And let's select OK and check again. So I pick Shanghai, and if I pick a slice, you see only this chart will be linked and it kept unchanged. So now what we will do is that repeat the process, and for the product chart, we will not allow it to create any linkage to the others. So let's repeat. So check it, go to the manually set up linkage and gray out everything. Okay, so after the settings, we are now allowing managers to see the data follow a very clear sequence. Okay, so when the user explore the trends of the charts, he or she sometimes want to go back, maybe clear out the linkage created by this chart. So what he or she can do is that check it, and here you can see there is a icon like paperclip. If you click it, all the linkage created by this chart will be cleared out. And you can see this chart is already switched to the initial state. But if you've already created linkage by multiple charts and you want to clear out all of them, what you can do is that go to the upper part of the dashboard, and here you can clear out all the linkage and see the initial data. Okay, so this is all about the linkage triggered by the same dataset. And according to the experience, Mr. White also knows that the executives also cares about the suppliers in each region. So in the near future, for this dashboard, the supplier information will also be included. However, that piece of information are coming from a different data set. So if the supplier information is included in the dashboard, how can we create a linkage between the two data sets? So now I've already prepared a supplier list. So instead of using this data set, this detailed table is created by a different data set. And for the two data sets, both of them have the city and province information. And now let's include this component to our dashboard. Okay, so now you can see when I'm checking one of the province, this supplier component will not change accordingly. And this is because they are coming from different data set. So how can we connect them? Now, what I will achieve is that when I choose one of the province, the city in this list will only those included in this province. So what I can do is that still manually set up the linkage. So now you can see by default, the supplier table is grayed out. And now let's enable it. And here we need to customize the criteria. And remember that our desired effect is that the two piece of component will show the data of the same province. So the criteria should be the same province when the province is the same between the two data sets. Okay, now let's have another try. So let me pick Jiangsu province. And now you can see this table is changing. And let's check if the data is correct. And maybe pick Changzhou city. And let's Google it. And you see, let's figure out a city inside Jiangsu. So we made it. We create a linkage between components from different sources. So this is easy, right? And now we will dive more into the drill down function. So remember that we have figured out a trend that is in this Inner Mongolia region, the profit rate is high. So could we make an assumption that all of the cities inside the province have a high profit rate? Can we make such assumption? The answer is not, because currently we only have an overview of the provincial data. And to defend our conclusions, we need data with a finer level. And this can utilize the drill down function. So for drill down, here I have some demo for you. So in the first demo, we can drill down from the province to the city level and to the product level. And in another demo, we can drill down from the year level to the month level and then to the date level. So this is the power of drill down. And also, if a company cares more about the spatial distribution, you can also create a drilling down map. So here there is an example of Southeast Asia. And if I pick one of the country, I can drill down to the city level. So here, let's go back to our analysis topic. So now we already have the data for the province level. And now we want to see more detailed data, maybe to the city and the store level. So how can we achieve this? Now let me edit this component. So now we have the province in the horizontal axis. And to create a drill down effect, what we will do first is to create a drill down directory. So firstly, I will create a drill down from province to city. So what I will do is that go to the left menu and click on the city and do not release your mouse. And then put it on the province dimension. And afterwards, the system will identify that, yes, you are going to create a drill down directory. And now I will give it a new name. Okay, so this is a drill down directory. And then after drilling down to city level, we want the category to continue to drill down to the store level. So let's find the store name. Here, click the drop-down button and let it to be included in this directory. Okay, now, after we set this drill down directory, you can see here in our horizontal axis, there is a switching icon. And here you can switch between different level of dimension to check your data. And also you can click on, let's pick another one, maybe Jiangsu. Click on this province and then you can drill down to the city level and maybe also drill down to the store level. And if you want to go back to the initial stage, you can click on this drill down and choose cancel drill. Okay, so this is a drill down for our sales dashboard. And also, in addition to this general dashboard, Mr. White, he also create another dashboard for the regional managers to check the detailed transaction data. So here, there is another analysis subject, and let's open it. So here in this subject, we have a table that shows the store, the product in the transaction and the sales. And also there is another chart showing the temporal trend of the sales. So now what we will do is that we will create a drill down from the quarter to month and then to day level on this chart. So how can we achieve this? Now we are facing two problems. The first is that how can we achieve the quarter and month? Because currently we only have the date dimension. So the answer is that in FineBI, for this any date field, you can click this drop down and choose the grouping method. And because the data type is date, so by default, the grouping is to the date level. And if you want a quarter data, you can choose the grouping method to quarter. And also you want the month, so you can choose to year month level. And this is the first problem. The other is that in the data set, we only have one date dimension. And then how can we have 3 dimensions to create a drill down directory? And the answer is that we can utilize the copy function. So now let's copy it and rename it as quarter. and then create another one. Mouse. So now we create 2 more date dimensions. And now let's repeat the process to create a drill down directory. So firstly, from quarter to month. Okay, and then let's add date to it. Okay. So now let's remove the existing date dimension and drag the new one. So now you can see, although we have a drill down directory, but by default, it's still grouped by the date level. So what we will do now is that change the grouping method one by one. So first, change it to quarter. And now let's switch to the month level and change to year month. And finally, the date, no changes are required. And let's go back to the quarter and check. So it seems that we have a rather high sales in quarter 2. And let's see what happened. And the distribution is quite even. And then we can see the variation by date. Okay, so this is all about the drill down on the date data. And if you are willing to create a drill down map here, I can also give you some introduction. So where is our drill down map? Okay. So in the drill down map, you can see I also create a drill down directory from the country level to the city level. But before you are create this, you need to go to the management tab, map configuration, and ensure that you've already have the JSON of each country and their province and even the city inside. Otherwise, you cannot create the drill down effect. And also, when you are making a map, you need to transfer the name of the country and city into the latitude and longitude attributes. So, and then you can drag them to horizontal and vertical axis and create the map. So if you are interested in the map drilling, so here you can search for it in our help doc, and then you can realize it according to the step-by-step guide. Okay. Now let's again go back to our analysis topic. So as I've mentioned, now we have a analysis topic on a general level, and this is for the executives to check the overall data. And we also have another analysis topic for more detailed level. And this can be checked by the managers of maybe the regional managers or a manager of a product category. But from time to time, if the executive wants to make some predictions, maybe for the next quarter or identify the risks in advance, they also need to show the detailed data from these general figures. And to achieve this, we can utilize the jump function in FineBI. So here I have some records of our demo. So you can jump from a single chart to another BI dashboard. Also, if you want to embed FineBI with the page from another system, you can utilize the web page jump. So now in this example, it's jumping to the BI help doc. And if you are already a user of FineReport, because FineReport allows you to create reports with more complicated formats. You can then utilize the jump to FineReport template. And here in our example, what we will do first is to allow the managers, when they are clicking on the province name, then they can be navigated to the dashboard showing the temporal variation. So when they click one of the province, they should be navigated to this chart. So how can we do this? Now let's again check the drop down, and here we have a jump setting. And now let's choose the target as the template because it's a BI template. And now I want to go to this topic, the sales analysis details. However, it is disabled. And why? This is because in this analysis topic, we only have components inside. And for the jump, the target should be a dashboard. So now let's create a dashboard and drag this chart inside. Give a name by date. And drag this component enlarge it to let it occupy the full canvas. Okay. And now let's go back to the first dashboard, choose the template. And now we can choose the by date dashboard as a target. And remember that when we are clicking on this province and in the destination page, we only want to see the exact data from this province. So now we will customize a filter criteria. And here, very obviously, we will use province to filter data in the target dashboard. And here, you can switch between different opening methods. By default, it will be open in a new window. And now I will prefer using a full screen dialog. And now let's check it. So jump to the template. And now I'm navigated to this chart. And I can still drop down in this chart. So if I'm switching between different provinces, you will see quite a different trend. So now you see in the Inner Mongolia region, we see the profit rate is rather high, and we want to know if such trend will continue for the next quarter. So we can click on it, scroll down, and we see, okay, in Q3, the value is rather high. But let's see what happened in exact months. And we see the high rate and the sales is contributed by July. And in August, there is a very obvious decrease. And then we can go down and check. So this is the first example. And for the next example, remember that at the very beginning, we figure out for Dove chocolate, the profit rate is somewhat a negative value. And this can caused by a number of reasons. Maybe the store used a wrong price in the system, or maybe they just input some wrong data. So we need to figure out the reason. And now I will use the jump function to let the users to be navigated to the transaction data. And then we can check what happened to the sales of the Dove chocolate. So now let's repeat the settings. Let's go to let's go to the jump settings. And remember that to go to this page, we still need to add another dashboard as a navigation. By store. And enlarge it. Okay. And now let's pick this new dashboard by store. And here, what we want to achieve is that when I click and in the new page or the new dialog, we only want to see the sales, the transaction of the specific product. So here the criteria should be on the product. And here I will use product code as a filtering criteria. And still let's let it be open in a dialog. Okay, so now let's click on the Dove chocolate. And now you can see the transaction of all the stores. And let's use the filter function of the column. Ascending. And now we figure out in this store, the profit is somewhat become a negative value, and the absolute value is rather high. And this figure highly probably contribute to the overall negative profit rate. So now to pinpoint the exact reason, we can suggest the managers to maybe have a phone call or an email to the store manager and check what happened to the transaction, what's the reason, and how can we do for the next step. So this is a jump to BI templates. It's easy, right? And also for some companies, they will use not only one platform. So maybe they will have some OA or ERP system. And you can also allow the user to be navigated from the BI template to another system based on the URL of the page. And now to showcase the functionality, I will use Google as example. So what we will do is that when a user is clicking on a province, then he will be navigated to a Google page, and the province will be shown in the search box. So before we start, let's have some tests on Google. So for instance, if I put Jiangsu in the search box, and let's observe the URL of Google. So you can see after the address, there is a parameter Q, and the value is Jiangsu. And we will use this piece of URL to construct the jump destination. So here, let me again set a jump, but this time it should be a web link. And here in the right part, we can type in the URL. And now for the parameter value, I will not hard code it. So instead, I will use the province name and just let it be open in a new window. So now we can check. Let's use Shandong and jump to this new destination. And you can see we made it. So now Shandong is shown in the search box. And if you are embedding another page from the BI template, there is one thing to note. So if you're trying to change the destination of the web link to dialog, and let's try again, you will see the Google refused to connect. And this is because for some system, they refuse to be embedded in a iframe content. So in this way, you need to align with the developers of the system to change the properties, or just you can change the settings to let it be open in a new window. Okay. So this is about jump, and I think we've already covered a lot, and we can have a 10-minute break. So during this period, if you have any questions, you can type in our chat, and we will address them when we resume. So the clock is ticking, and I will see you shortly at 3:45. So now enjoy your break. Hello, welcome. So far we've received a number of questions, and a lot of people are caring about the record. So at the end of today's webinar, we will let you to fill a form for the feedback, and after you fill the form, you will receive a full package including the record of the webinar and also the dataset we use. And also there are other valuable questions that we can address. So documentation, yes, my colleague has already shared this and you can check. And okay, more session. Yes, so next month we will have another session, but it's about different topics. So if you want to learn more about the BI interaction, you need to check the record. And okay, so for the jump from a parent dashboard to the child one and show the result. Okay, so let's go back my example. So initially when I'm creating this jump, remember that I set source field and target field. So if you've already include some parameters, you can use the field match to transfer the parameter. But if you are using additionally, if the target is not a BI template, you can utilize a web link. So here you can put the desired value of the parameter. So here you can set. Okay, so for the cancel of the linkage, so what I've already shown is that you can use this button, right? And if you have already downloaded the latest version of BI in our website, because I'm now using an older version, so now we have a new feature. So if you click on the slice of data you checked again, then the linkage will be disabled. So you can have a try by downloading the latest version. And now there is a update log for your reference. Okay, so for the full course, so we provide both some learning videos on our website. So this is for some basic topics. And if you're required, you can join our WhatsApp group. If you're required, we can have more records. So because previously we also introduced the chart setting of FineBI, but this is already finished. So if you need, you can leave a message and my colleagues will reply to your needs. Okay, so now let's continue. So now we've already added the linkage, drill down, and jump functions for our dashboard. But after we share this dashboard with all the executives, different people will care about different piece of data. So like if one of the manager is a provincial manager, he or she will only care about one of the province, or one of the manager only care about part of the product category. So to help all the users to only focus on partial data, we can utilize the filter component to query the data that they want. And for all the queries, for all the filters in FineBI, I've already created a demo for you. So first to mention, we can filter data by the date. So by default, you can filter by the specific date or use the year, month, and quarter. So in addition to a specific date, you can also use a range to filter the data. And here we also provide a large date panel for users to pick up a date. And also remember that we have some product category. So for all the text columns, we can filter them by drop down or show everything in a list. And if all the options have a hierarchy relationship, like we have product type and the specific product name, we can organize the options by tree filters. So here you can use drop down and also a list or in a label format. Okay. And this is very helpful if the options at the downest level is have a large number. So in this scenario, the manager only need to check the options in a higher level, and then he can obtain the data he wants. And also we can filter according to some numbers. We can pick specific numbers, or we can specify a range. And here you can also choose include or exclude the boundary. And if you have already booked some hotels on booking.com, you may know that you can change the range of the price by a slider. So in BI, we also provide such a slider for users to freely change the range of data. And what I've covered here are all the filters that preset by the developer of this dashboard. However, if you do not know the specific data the user want, or the user just want to explore the data on their own, what you can do is to use a composite filter. And in this way, the filter can be set freely. So here, I can like maybe set the quantity should be what, and or the transaction is happened in during what. And I can specify another criteria. So with this composite filter, the users can create a filter according to the needs on their own. So here in our dashboard, what we will do is to add 3 more filters to help the users to query the data. So the first one is a tree label filter to help them to choose a specific category and product name. And now let's go back to the dashboard. So to add a filter component, you need to go to the upper part. And here you can choose from the filter component. And now let's pick the tree label and drag it to our dashboard. And now what I will do is to set up the options. So you can choose from all the data sets that already used by all the components, or instead you can choose from all the data sets that already being uploaded to this analysis subject. So now I will pick the category and product name. So you can see after I drag them here, the options are already created. So you can preview the result. And also you see the linkage between the options are created dynamically. And here, the control range, you can pick all the components controlled by this filter. So I will keep them the default option. And if you want to change the look of the filter, you can also switch here, maybe change it to the drill down tree or list. And if this filter is required, you can also check this option. And now let's enlarge it. So after add this filter, we can easily pick the data we want. Okay. So this is the first filter. For the next one, we will use another text filter to allow users to focus on specific province. And again, let's pick a drop-down, text drop-down. So here we need to drag the province name. So by default, it allows you to pick multiple options. And you can also switch it to single option. And if you want, depends on your requirement, you can also force the user to have limited options. So for instance, here I only include 2 options. And when user check it, only 2 options are allowed. Okay. So now let me pick up part of the province, and the data are changing accordingly. So for the last filter, we will apply some query on the date. Now let's pick the date filter and repeat the process. Let's find the date. And optionally, you can let the widget to show the time if you want. Or if you only want the user to pick a date from a specified interval. For instance, I only allow users to pick a date for this September, and let me set it. So afterwards, all the date beyond this range will be grayed out. But now I will keep it as default. Okay. So after add all these filters, we also need to make it user-friendly. So maybe add some titles to guide their choice. So firstly, for this tree label, because we already show all the options, so there is no need to show the title. And let's hide it. And for this drop-down, we need to let user know you need to pick a province here. So let me edit the title. And for the date, we can also edit the title. Okay, so it's very nice. And now if you observe carefully, you will figure out when I'm picking some options, the query action will be triggered automatically. And this can be fine because we have a moderate data volume. But from time to time, in a real-world scenario, the data volume can be rather large, and maybe we will have a number of filters in one dashboard. And in this scenario, if we still have a automatic query, it will be a catastrophe because each of the query action will require very much the server resources. And imagine if there were a great number of employees using the same dashboard, the server may crash. So to solve this problem, what we can do is to add a query button to trigger the query action manually. So here I will go back to the filter panel and add a query button. So after adding this, let me go to the preview mode. If I pick something, all the charts will not react. And only when I click query, they will be filtered. So remember, this is very helpful when you are creating a dashboard for large data volume. And also, because now we have already included a number of filters, and if you want to clear out all the options and restore all the data to the initial state, you can include another button, the reset button. So with this button, if you have already queried the data and you just need one click, so everything will be restored to the initial stage. So far we've already mentioned a lot, like how to set the options, how to change the type of the filters. And if you are already an advanced user of FineBI, you may also find it useful to combine filter with parameter. And now I also have a demo to show you. So in this demo, what we want is that if I pick a value in this filter, all the data in this table will only show the cells which is larger than this selected value. So how I achieve this? So here, in the filter, instead of drag a column as the option, I actually bind the filter with a parameter. And the parameter name is threshold. So where is this parameter? Let me go back to the component. So here in the field list, I use this function to add a parameter, and the name is threshold. And then for the dimension column, I add a filter to let the table only show data whose sales value is greater than the parameter value. And then when I drag it to the dashboard, it can be connected to this filter by this parameter and achieve this result. So if you are interested in the usage of parameter together with filter, you can also check the user guide in the doc platform. And also you can explore more according to the directory. So this is about filter. And so far we've already added a lot of functionality to the dashboard to make it interactive. But this is not enough if you want to share this dashboard with your colleague or even make a presentation to your executives. And to beautify the dashboard, we can utilize other components. So the first one I want to introduce is the text component. So with this one, you can add a title for the whole dashboard and also use it to show some conclusions or figures dynamically. So let me show you now. So now let's navigate to the upper part. And in the other option, we can pick a text component. So now I will type in something like sales dashboard and enlarge it. And now I need to organize all the components we have. So here we already add a title for the dashboard. And to unify the color scheme, you can pick this one, the dashboard style, and choose all the preset color scheme. So for me, I will prefer this green one and click OK to save. So now we already have a title. And also, remember that when we are clicking on this chart, I can choose to link to other charts. But when I'm making a presentation, my mouse will continue to move. But in the same time, I also want to show the value for a province, obviously. So now I will utilize the text component again to show the figures. So put another text component here. And now I will show province, sales, and profit rate. So now in this text box, I can include data columns from this component. So for the province, I will pick this column. For the sales, this one. And then the profit rate. So, okay, by default, it shows all. And if I pick one of the province and link to others, this piece of text will dynamically show what I have chosen. So this is very helpful because if you use the label on the chart, there will be a number of figures on the chart, and this will blur the reader's eyes. So it's more helpful if you can use a dynamic text to guide their analysis actions. And also in a text component, you can embed some hyperlink. For instance, like in this dashboard, I add a link to jump to the help doc. Use this function. And also, if this is a dashboard to be shown on a company level, you can also include the logo in the dashboard. And now I will try to include the logo of FanRuan. So firstly, I will drag an image component here. Double click to choose. And now I need this picture to have an adaptation property. So if I choose this option, the aspect ratio of this picture will be preserved. But if you pick this one, it will be stretched. So according to your needs, you need to pick the correct property for your picture. And now to make this logo above the layer of the title, I will then allow it to overlap with other components. And now I can drag it to the title part and change the size. Okay. From time to time, you can also utilize the web component function to embed a page. And also, we have a tab component, which allows you to organize all the charts. So here, I will use a new dashboard to show you. Firstly, let me drag a tab component. So here you can add more tabs. For the first tab, I will display charts on the province level. And in the second tab, display something on product level. Now go back to the first tab and let me drag a provincial sales. And inside each tab, you can change the position and size freely. And in the product, I will drag firstly the proportion. And I can also include another chart. So now let's preview it. So in this way, you can organize a great number of charts according to their topic to better categorize them and guide users to analyze all the data. So highly suggest that you practice on your own and give a better look of your existing dashboard. So now we've already created a well-designed dashboard and allow users to drill down, jump. We have a lot of interactivity now. And now we cannot wait to share it with all the colleagues. So here, I will apply for publication. For the directory, I will choose the root directory. And because for this BI project, I'm already the administrator. So after I apply for the publication, it's already included in the directory. So now when you are sharing this dashboard with your colleagues and also do some presentation based on this dashboard, we still have some tricks that you can you can utilize. So for instance, if there are a number of charts, we want to focus on one of them, we can choose to zoom in and also select a part of the data. And also for this table, we now have 3 columns. We have 3 metrics. But if currently we only pay attention to maybe one of the column, we can also dynamically change the columns displayed. So for instance, in the indicator, we can uncheck others and only preserve this column showing the important suppliers in a city. So if you've already used some filters in a chart for all the charts, and now you want to check what are the filters applied on a specific chart. So for instance, for this pie chart, we can choose to view the filter criteria. And now the filter and the options are provided for you to check. And if your colleagues are also curious about the detailed data underneath the chart, you can also choose to show all the detailed data that is used to create the pie chart. And if other colleagues are also curious about the data analysis and they want to use the same piece of data, maybe for the whole dashboard or from one of the charts to do more analysis, you can also share them. So for the whole dashboard, you can choose this option and export everything to Excel. So after the export, the detailed data for each chart will be included. And also we have a screenshot of the whole dashboard. And you can add this if you have a PowerPoint slide, you can include this piece of chart. But also, if you only want to export one of the chart, for instance, you can also pick export to Excel. Okay. And this time we will only have the data for the specific chart and also a screenshot. And now let's go to this table. So we have a column named important, but for sometimes the user of the dashboard may not have a knowledge of what this column means. So what we can do is that we can add a remarks for all of the data columns. So for instance, let's go back to this table. So for this column, I already add a remarks, and this shows how we define a supplier is important. And here our criteria is that the annual transaction is larger than 20. So after I include these remarks, and users can use their mouse to hover, and then they can check the remarks. And also, from time to time, there were different people in charge of all the components in the dashboard. So to better guide, to better let users know who is in charge of this piece of chart, we can also include a remarks for this component. So here, I also add a remarks for this piece of chart. And then when a manager, when they are watching this dashboard, they can also click this icon to see, okay, this person is in charge of this data, and we can contact them and discuss what happened and what we can do next. Okay. So far I've already mentioned everything that we can include to make the dashboard have more interactivity features, and hope Mr. White, after he implement all of the techniques, he can win the success in a promotion opportunity. And also, after today's webinar, you can have a try of all the functionalities I mentioned today, and to make data analysis a more happy journey. And so before we go to a conclusion of today's webinar, I also want to empower you to continue the learning of FineBI. So here what we have is a fine-tailored learning pathway. So no matter you are a beginner or a experienced user, you can utilize this learning pathway to cover all the knowledge you can equip with FineBI. And also, if you are an analyst and you are interested in the calculation in FineBI, we will have another webinar in the middle of October about the dev function. And before you leave our webinar, you can also, we highly recommend that you fill in this post-webinar form, because your feedback is very valuable for us. And if you have other topics that you are interested in, so don't hesitate to leave a message in the feedback form. And now let me check again the box if there are more questions. Okay, so yes, so this question is more about the style settings, and my colleague also include help doc. So here you can change the text direction. Okay, so let me wait for maybe 2 or 3 minutes to see if there are more questions put forward. So again, don't forget to fill this form. We've already append the link. So if as I've mentioned, we will have another webinar, so you can keep an eye on this page and register for the upcoming webinar. Hi, Benito, right? Thank you, thank you. We will continue to provide more valuable component to help your learning journey. So so far, if there are no more questions, so we can go to a end for today's webinar. And again, thank you a lot for your participation. And we are looking forward to your continued success in data analysis journey. And also have a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you a lot.